Nathan Murphy is he on the line? Tommy, is that what we're saying? There he is.
How are we?
Nathan Murphy.
Good morning.
You're up and at them.
Why not? I heard you making some outrageous comments earlier, so I thought I'd come on and just provide a little bit of balance.
What was this about Connacht?
What's your problem with Connacht?
No.
Are you not from Connacht?
Oh, Jesus! Another one for the list of the nonsense list. Right, so
you turned your back on the people of Connacht. Mal O'Kelly's your hero, even though you were born in Connacht.
No. Let's not even get into it.
Mal O'Kelly, your hero?
Big Mal is one of my all-time heroes, yeah.
Well, for how long? Since you've been like 30?
Genuinely, yeah. What are you sneering about? He's like one of the most capped Irish players of all time.
Oh, he is. We should all have heroes, no matter how old they are.
That's right, I don't understand what's wrong with that. We've gone down a rabbit hole here, which I suspect we may be doing with our next topic as well. Just want to sort of give people a bit of context here. Obviously, the Ireland-Georgia game during the week, and conversation came up around the office about the performance of Seamus Coleman, good, bad, or different. And my initial instinct, having been at the game, was that he had a bit of a stinker, and the great football minds of the off-the-ball department, yourself included, rubbished this fact and said that actually, I mean, in your words, later in the week, it was one of his top 10 all-time performances in an Ireland shirt. Do you stand by that nonsense?
Yeah, I do. I think now Seamus Coleman has probably struggled to replicate his best Everton form when he's been in a green jersey, but I thought he was very strong on Tuesday night. Constantly provided an outlet up the right-hand side, was calm when he got the ball. Obviously, the defence was very solid over the two games, and I think he did very, very little wrong. I was shocked when you came in.
Okay, let's press pause on that conversation right there. He did very little wrong. So I've watched this entire game back, as I've been mentioning a little bit earlier in the show, and for the purposes of research, and looking specifically at Seamus Coleman. So the parameters of the bit of research were that I was not looking at any of the other players, and I wasn't looking at the overall Ireland performance necessarily. It was really just to review on the basis of you saying this was the top 10 Seamus Coleman performance of all time. And so that was really the parameters of the conversation. So I had a look at it, and I went through every single involvement that Seamus Coleman had over the course of the game. There were 49 of them, to my reckoning. 19 of them were positive involvements, 18 of them were negative involvements, and
what bullshit statistics are these? What constitutes a negative involvement?
Do you mind if I actually get into it? Is that
Sorry.
I mean,
Sorry,
now that I've bothered to actually review the game, if it's okay, I might actually just get into some of that. 19 positive, negative involvements, 18 positive, and 12 that were neither one nor the other. I'd have to accept that obviously this was my review, so I decided whether it was positive or negative. I went into a pretty open mind. Overall, he didn't play as bad, I would have to admit, as I thought he had done. We were discussing earlier on what overall mark I was giving him out of 10, and I'm probably giving him about a 4.5. In hindsight, I was kind of thinking maybe about a 3 post-game, so I'm weighing in with about a 4.5. Played decent in patches, played okay, about good 7 or 8 minutes, maybe just before half-time. A couple of decent 1-2s. Didn't have a lot to do defensively, obviously, because they were playing 2 Bob Rovers, who, to be fair, were brutal on the night. No ambition, no capacity to string any great attacks together. Georgia were just awful. So, didn't have a huge amount to do defensively, but clearly not the Seamus Coleman that we were once used to looking at, that we spoke about. There was an ongoing conversation about when Seamus Coleman was joined Manchester United. He's definitely not that player now. He has no pace. He is very poor on the ball at times. He doesn't start to play from the keeper. There wasn't one time over the course of the game, and I'm going to give you some specific examples now in just a moment, but there wasn't one occasion in the game where Darren Randolph rolled or kicked the ball out to his right back. Not once at any point during the game. Those moves, when they were started across the defence, were coming through Shane Duffy and Enda Stevens. So whether that's a confidence in Seamus Coleman or a circumstance, I would offer the idea that not once did it happen is more than just a coincidence. Can't beat his man in any way as much as he used to be able to do. Can't get a cross in like he once did. And I guess the question at this point, you have to beg the question as to whether Matt Doherty would be a better option in that position. On the basis of, I've picked out 5 samples that I'm going to try and best demonstrate to back up the argument that I'm making here. These all fall within the 19 negative impacts that Seamus Coleman had during the game. So these are just facts, right? These are not sort of any kind of opinion one way or the other. These are just facts of things that you say. This was Seamus Coleman, one of his top 10 performances of all time. This is what happens over the course of a top 10 performance. First, we're going to have a look at here, Tommy, is this is maybe his first touch in the game. That's Seamus Coleman, that's circled there. And he's obviously got a huge amount. This is the perfect opportunity from where Ireland could potentially launch an attack. Look at all that space that's ahead of him. That's Robbie Brady, who's just about to run in off the shoulder there into miles of space. He overkicks the pass to such an extent that it rolls out over the end line. Like, that was his first involvement in the game. Absolutely abysmal. Perfect opportunity for Ireland to set up an attack. That should be Seamus Coleman's bread and butter. Overcooks the pass. Ball goes out. Goal kick. That's the first instance I want to look at. Next instance I want to look at is a few minutes later, really. To be fair, makes a great run into the box here. You can see Jeff Hendrick is just about to slide the ball into the area. He's done excellently to get into that position, which, to be fair, he did right through the course of the game. Got into excellent positions at times where the ball may have fallen to him from a deflection or from a pass that it just really never did. But this is one of the times where it did. Takes a brilliant opportunity to get into the box, holds the line brilliantly, gets to the end line to get the ball away. You can see Seamus Coleman circling at the top of the box there, and you can see the ball, and 17 is Howran is clearly looking over at Seamus Coleman saying, what the hell have you just done? That ball is, you can't tell from the trajectory of it there, but is 2 Shane Duffys wouldn't have got the head on that ball, and it's gone out over the left-hand touchline and out of play for a throw-in. Third instance I want to look at is just about half an hour into the game. Again, takes up a really good position. Pretty much a carbon copy of the first instance that we looked at. And again, pretty much the exact same setup. Takes the ball right wide out on the right-hand side. Robbie Brady is making the run in. Oceans of space ahead of him. So everything brilliant up to that. And he can't get it past that Georgian defender that you can see that's just about to get into him there. Takes a throw in. Ball hits the Georgian defender. Ball goes out for a throw. So they're the first 3. See, if you're doing that, you're not paying attention to the facts.
Sorry,
right? But
sorry.
That's fine. That's you got to do a bit of lazy punditry. That's for you to get into. 2 minutes into added time at the end of the first half. Fourth instance here. Coleman, this is some of his defensive duties. You can see him circled there with the Georgian defender. Up to that point, had been covering quite well. Georgia looking to play a ball over the top. That's Coleman's man just on his left-hand shoulder, and the yellow circle is Coleman's man now. He's lost him entirely. He has to palm him off to Shane Duffy. Ireland were incredibly lucky in that instance where Seamus Coleman lost his man not to concede. It was a brilliant piece of goalkeeping from Darren Randolph that saved our blushes, and that came from Seamus Coleman having no pace and losing his man, having no sense defensively. That was a couple of minutes into added time at the end of the first half. We were really lucky not to be 1-1 at that point of the game. And the last instance I want to look at is with about 20 minutes to go.
You've got another hater on the line there, Adrian.
At about 20 minutes to go, this is Seamus Coleman that you can see circled there. He's again got into a really good position, wide out on the right-hand side. It's Robbie Brady, as usual, that's just on his left shoulder there, that's played in that pass. And Coleman here is obviously looking to either play in, I think that might be Jeff Hendrick just ahead of him, or give it back to Brady. And what actually happens is he ends up clipping the ball off that Georgia defender that's just about to close it in there. Again, can't get his pass away. They're the facts of what happened with Seamus Coleman in this game, and that's the reason I'm giving him 4.5 out of 10.
Well, that was a unbelievably embarrassing hatchet job.
Okay, well, get on with the reasons behind it. Stop this hyperbole. Get in with what?
That is not.
That's just a fact.
Taking snapshots of a split second of a game is not analysis of the full 90 minutes.
I've just explained to you that I've watched the entire 90 minutes and I've analysed what the positive impact that he had in the game, the negative impact, and then neither one nor the other. So obviously I wasn't going to go through all 49 involvements that he had over the course of the game and pluck each of them out. I'm trying to demonstrate that Seamus Coleman is not the player that he once was. You have to accept that.
Firstly, you're saying the Seamus Coleman that was linked with Manchester United. That Seamus Coleman was never based on his performances for the Republic of Ireland, because he's never been able to get up and down the wing for Ireland like he has for Everton, because he doesn't have as good players inside him. He got up and down that wing better than I've ever seen him do for Ireland on Tuesday night. And calling them two-bit players that Georgia offered nothing is showing a total lack of awareness of what Georgia have done in international football over the last 5 or 6 years. We went to Tbilisi 2 years ago and Georgia had 80% possession.
But you're not talking about the game the other night. Now you're talking about other games.
No, the reason they didn't have the 80% possession.
There's not a lack of awareness
players like
of other
Seamus
games.
Coleman put the pressure on the Georgians, set a tempo, got at them, didn't give them a second.
But this is just vague stuff that
this nonsense of, Darren Randolph didn't roll the ball out to him. What are you trying to suggest? That Darren Randolph doesn't trust Seamus Coleman and he trusts Enda Stevens?
Okay, flip that around. Do you think it's surprising that not at one point during the game the goalkeeper would roll the ball out to his right back? Do you think that's in any way surprising?
Not if that was part of the game plan.
Can we, obviously we've got two good football men arguing here, but can we go to our chief football man, John Giles, to hear about his analysis last night?
Yeah, I think it's the best we've played in the last 10, 12 matches in Dublin. There was a bit of life about it, a bit of go about it. McGoldrick was good up front. I thought Coleman was outstanding.
He said he was outstanding, and let's hear, he had another clip on Seamus Coleman as well. Have a listen to this.
That's why they call the midfield, because they're the connection between back and front. And if they're not doing the stuff, then the lads at the back won't get to the front. I know that sounds a bit complicated, but it all depends on the midfield players getting on the ball, which we did, and it freed. And Coleman would be making the runs because that's what he does. He does that naturally. But if the midfield players are not doing it, he's not going to get the ball. So therefore, people say, Coleman didn't play as well as he has been, but it's because he's not getting the supply. But he did get the supply the other day, and I thought he was outstanding. Stevens was outstanding on the left-hand side of the field. But I think Coleman was back in the last two matches, was back to his very best.
John Giles never minces his word, says Seamus Coleman was outstanding.
Hardly got any supply, by the way. Most of the Irish attack went up the left-hand side.
No, it didn't. It most certainly did not. A huge amount of the Irish attack came up the right-hand side. You even showed the opportunity there where, in fairness to Coleman, was a bad dink over the top, where McLean made the run short to the near post.
Are you standing over the fact that this was a top 10 Seamus Coleman performance? Seriously?
For the Republic of Ireland, yes. No, I think part of that is that we haven't seen the best of Seamus Coleman, unfortunately, in an Irish jersey, for the reasons that John Giles outlined, that we've never fully been able to utilise him. So it's somebody else's fault, it's not Seamus Coleman's fault? Well, Seamus Coleman is our best player, has been our best player, playing at the highest level for the last 10 years. He's the one player who's consistently played in a top 10 team in the Premier League. There's a reason why he has struggled to get to the heights that he played with Everton for Ireland, because the players around him haven't been able to get the best out of him. It's a very different thing playing for Everton at right back. You get the ball, you play it into Andre Gomez in midfield. You know you can make your run up the right-hand side and you'll get it back to you, you won't lose it. Coleman hasn't had that level of trust. So I think if you're just randomly picking holes, and the reason I call it a hatchet job is, you go through that game on Tuesday night. I thought Glenn Whelan played very well, Conor Hourahan, Jeff Hendrick. You go through Glenn Whelan's performance bit by bit, minute by minute, you're going to see he gave the ball away in pretty dangerous positions 4 or 5 times. Now, more often than not, he won it back. But if you break down any player's performance into split seconds, into one moment here and there, so Seamus Coleman handed the defender off to Shane Duffy. It's probably the right thing to do in that situation.
I don't think that, having looked at that specific incident, I was open to that idea, absolutely. I don't think that's what happened. I think he was caught for pace. And like what you're saying is that when Seamus Coleman is good, that's down to Seamus Coleman, but when he's bad, it's somebody else's fault.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a reason why he has struggled to get to the same level at international level that he does at club level, because he can trust the central midfielders more at club level than he can for Ireland. But that changed. That was the big difference, that actually for once, Conor Hourahan, Glenn Whelan, Jeff Hendrick got on the ball, dominated possession, were comfortable in possession, which allowed him to get forward, which allowed Enda Stevens to get forward on the other side and not fear that they were going to be caught out of position. It was a very good performance from Seamus Coleman. I don't know where you were sitting, what free seats you got, how much free red wine was consumed that somehow coloured your view of this game.
Nonsense.
But this was not
This is the sort of nonsense. This is the refuge of somebody who's lost the argument, Nathan. No, nonsense. This is total nonsense. I watched the guy. The second half, he was on the same side as a touchline as I was, and that was where the initial analysis came from. I watched the game back. I've gone in with an open mind. I haven't led the jury in terms of the facts. I'm saying that I'm willing to praise him where it needs be, but obviously for the my point of view is that he had a poor game from an Irish perspective, and I've demonstrated to you why. You haven't, other than say, he's these things that somebody else's fault.
For all those mistakes he made, for all those negative influences he had in the game, how many goals did Ireland concede?
Well, I mean, that
right
was
back,
obviously...
He had such a horror show. He had such a horror show of a performance. Yet still, somehow, Georgia didn't manage to take advantage of us.
That's nothing to do with how Georgia might have done previously. As you yourself pointed out during the week, they were missing some of their best players. What we saw on Tuesday night was 2 Bob Rovers.
Absolutely not. Sure, look at the chances they created in the second half as Ireland started to run out of steam. This was a Georgian team who frustrate the life out of you. They're never going to win a European Championship. They're never going to top a group like this. But their entire role is to frustrate the life out of you. Ireland didn't let them do that. Ireland played a lot better against Georgia on Tuesday night than Switzerland did in Georgia last Saturday. This was a very good Irish performance that we should actually, for once, enjoy a refreshing Irish performance. It's bizarre that you would identify one figure and try and nail him, considering you look at some of the other sports where we've disappointed over the past month, and I haven't seen any sort of hatchet job at any individual Irish rugby player.
This is not. You're wondering. This is the absolute refuge of somebody who's totally lost the argument. That's bullshit.
On that point, the 26th of May 2018, like we talked
come on,
about.
Listen, this is bullshit.
Great tweets. Adrian Barry,
no. This has nothing to do with this. Nothing to do with this argument.
In any sport, possibly superb all day.
This is a hatchet job. This is a hatchet. Cheap shot. Cheap shot.
Was it the same seats you were sitting in last week, or did they sit you up a little bit higher so you're a bit pissed off?
Cheap shot. This is a hatchet job. What I've done, by the way, and I need to clarify it, is not a hatchet job. I've watched the game live, in person. I've re-watched the game afterwards to look at Seamus Coleman. I wasn't looking at Glenn Whelan. I clearly stated that at the start of the piece.
But that is my exact point.
What I was
Why weren't you looking at Glenn Whelan?
Because the discussion was about Seamus Coleman. Am I not entitled to go back? Why are we so prissy about whether that Seamus Coleman has not had his best ever game in an Ireland shirt?
Because it's such a bizarre target to take.
Am I not allowed? Is one not entitled to look at the game and analyse a player's performance?
You perfectly are, and you're entitled to say that you felt it was a 4.5 out of 10 performance, but we're perfectly entitled to say you're talking absolute nonsense.
Well, you are entitled to say that, but the evidence that I've proven is that you're wrong.
You can go through every single performance from every Irish player and pick out your negative moments throughout a game, and they'll all be into double figures. Because that's the flow of the game. David McGoldrick, as brilliant as he was, gave the ball away 5 or 6 times, couldn't control it, lost out when he was caught in tight corners. That's what happens. But you're looking at little moments of Seamus Coleman, freeze frames, and picking them out as...
No, but I'm trying to... Don't misrepresent what I'm doing. I'm looking at Coleman's performance and trying to analyse it and demonstrate. Rather than... If I came on here and said, listen, here are my thoughts on how he went without proving it with... graphics, you'd say, wow, this is just nonsense. Did that really happen? So that's why I was proving it. Some reaction in Nathan that you'll be delighted to hear. Was at the game, Coleman was bang average. One response here. Have to agree with Adrian. Coleman is nowhere near his old self. Doherty will be in, except for Coleman being captain. And I don't discount the captain aspect. I totally get that. I understand all of that. Didn't think Coleman was great. Wouldn't go as hard as Adrian, but couldn't understand what all the praise was about. 6 out of 10 performance at the absolute max. Says another commenter here on YouTube. Coleman is but a shadow of the player he was, says Virginian on Twitter. So look, that's a bit of a flavour of the response, which
it's a very one-sided flavour.
Well, it is, and it is. That's pretty much all it's pretty much all the responses we've had, to be honest with you, and they all seem to side with me.
I would say on the Matt Doherty argument, listen, it's Mick McCarthy's choice. It's a 50-50, I would imagine, but because of Seamus Coleman's experience, and I think Mick McCarthy said after the game, he's the man in possession. Something happens, Matt Doherty gets in, he'll be the man in possession, and Coleman will have to somehow try and oust him. But Matt Doherty's going to be on a hiding to nothing when he plays for Ireland. You might end up doing something very similar for Matt Doherty when we play Denmark if he's in the team. Because the Matt Doherty that plays for Wolves is never going to be able to replicate that performance for Ireland because he has 2 of the best central midfielders in the Premier League inside him. He can do what he wants. He knows that they're never going to lose the ball. He can go 30, 40 yards up the pitch. When he plays for Ireland, he's going to be your regular right back, sitting inside his own half, no great opportunities to really bomb forward. And people are going to be disappointed by Matt Doherty, even though they shouldn't be. And I think that is the same situation with Seamus Coleman. Understandably, he's lost half a yard of pace with the injury and with the very fact that he's into his 30s now. But he's a smarter player. He's an intelligent guy. He's learned how to do it in a slightly different way. And he certainly, at club level, is not the reason for Everton's decline in form either. He had a very good game, I thought. One of these better games in an Ireland jersey. Offered more going forward.
And you're relenting out from the top 10 of all time.
No, I think it is in his top 10 Irish performances because I think he has never hit the heights for Ireland that he has at club level. You know, his best Ireland performance was probably France in the last 16 of Euro 2016, where he sort of, right from that very first minute, controlled the Irish performance, led from the front, made sure we played football in the right way, much like what happened on Tuesday night. The disappointment with Coleman over the years for Ireland is that we've never seen him get forward to the byline and the end line like he did on Tuesday night. He did that. There wasn't maybe that. I think Ireland in general lacked a little bit of quality in the final third, but that's going to continue during this campaign. We don't have a Robbie Keane. We don't have players in that final third who are playing at the very highest level at the moment. But to suggest that this was some sort of stinker from Seamus Coleman is just nonsense.
Your opinion, it was an absolute stinker. I've proven the facts. Something that we actually value your opinion about, Nathan, would be Liverpool-Tottenham at the weekend.
Yeah, can't wait. With Brian Kerr, 4:30 kickoff. It's funny, usually these international breaks, you don't look forward to them at this time of the season because the Premier League's in full flow and there's such an exciting title race. It's been a really interesting international break and we have to sort of turn our attention back to what's going on. It's a huge weekend for Liverpool because City, you would expect, will win quite comfortably against Fulham tomorrow lunchtime. Liverpool at home, unbeaten in almost 2 years at this stage, 36 games unbeaten at Anfield. Think back to the game last season when Mo Salah scored this ridiculous goal in the final minute, and then Harry Kane, having just missed the penalty, gets a penalty about 6 minutes into injury time to equalise for Spurs. It's generally a very good game. They're two technically exciting teams. They're not going to sit back. They're going to go at each other. I'd imagine there'll be plenty of goals. Liverpool somehow need to get the win on Sunday, and then they've Chelsea to come in Anfield at a fortnight's time. If they can remain within a point or two of Manchester City after those two games, they'll be delighted because City then have United to come after that. But generally, Liverpool-Spurs is one of the better games of the season, and if they can get Mo Salah after his little break, Jurgen Klopp allowed him to go off on a holiday, relax, put the feet up, maybe just get into a sort of Zen-like state.
You could do a bit of that yourself, Nathan. I would suggest. When are you back at Everton next to interview Seamus Coleman, by the way?
Well, funnily, we're at Everton Sunday week, and I'll be sure to pass on your kind regards.
Well, I'm sure he'll speak to you now. That's the you've stood up for him. You've stood up for me. I'm not saying anything.
Wow.
Enjoy the.
I look forward to tuning in next Friday if Munster or Leinster don't win this weekend, and you do an absolute takedown on one individual. Who's it going to be?
Misrepresentation, cheap shot. Good luck.
Peter O'Mahony, I hope he has a good game tomorrow, otherwise Adrian Barry's coming from him.
Nix him off the line there. Good man, Nathan. Thanks a million for taking the call. Obviously a busy household as well, so do appreciate you taking the call. What's your hot take on that?
Kind of speechless, to be quite honest with you.